Hello, and I am right back with video number 2. So we're talking about recovery from emotional abuse, most specifically narcissistic abuse. However, narcissistic abuse and emotional abuse are fairly synonymous. A lot of the manipulation tactics are the same, whether you're with a narcissist or a borderline, a manipulative borderline especially, a sociopath or a psychopath, somebody who's bipolar or manic. Any of these cluster B kind of personalities can expose you to emotional manipulation. The way emotional manipulation works is throughout the process, through the grooming process that you hear all the time. It conditions you where you, over time, make very small concessions, very small, minute changes, voluntarily, to adapt and adjust to your lifestyle. Excuse me, sorry. So, once the abuse is done, you find that you're not who you used to be. You found yourself missing. You know, you're missing something. You're missing something that that you had before the abuse started. Now, key point number 1 here that I'm about to tell you. It is very, very common to blame the abuser and say, he took my life, he or she changed me, he or she took my happiness and made me a very unhappy, depressed, unstable person. That is not a completely true statement. And it is hard for me to say. I know it's hard for you to hear. It was hard for me to admit, because up until recently, I always blamed my ex for having made, I felt like, I changed, because I did change. Something was gone, something was missing. I wasn't the Jonathan that I was 10 years ago. Granted, a lot changes in 10 years. We all change. But generally just not so happy-go-lucky, goofy, silly. Not to, these days, I'm more dry and sarcastic and, just muted, and I'm constantly tired. And, so for the longest, I just sort of, held some bitterness about that. I went through the ringer with her. I had to go through a horrible divorce, and she killed those parts of me. That's not true. Not completely. She subjected me to the conditions, and it is because of those conditions that I changed myself. See, nobody has the power to change you. You change yourself. And the key to recovery, or at least one of the big major keys to recovery, is understanding this concept that, yes, they subjected you to horrible conditions, and as a result of those conditions, you made changes to yourself to adapt, adjust, and survive. Now, is that your fault? No. Is it something to be ashamed of? Absolutely not. It's something every rational person does when they are subjected to an abusive, traumatic, emotional situation. And this is good news, because it means that once you understand that you did not get here because things were stolen from you and taken from you, that viewpoint sets you up to believe that you'll never get it back, because that sets you up with the mentality of, it was taken from me and I'll never get it back. I can't get my heart back. And that's not at all accurate. The accurate picture that you need to adopt is to say, how can I change back? I changed to this. And I need to change away from it. I need to change back to who I was. So who I am today is not representative of who I was, and I need to come up with a 1-point plan, 3-point plan, 12-point plan, 100-point plan to get back to who I was. You need to sit down and figure out what you're missing. One of the best ways to do this is reconnect with old friends and talk about the old times. And you can ask your friends, so before I met Captain Dick, what all changes have you noticed? Like, I know I'm not the same person anymore. Like, what are some things you miss about me? Like, just be honest, you know. Your friends, hopefully, ideally, love you, and they'll give you some good, honest feedback, because chances are they've probably been pissed off by the way you've been acting since you were with Captain Happy. So they're probably more than willing to lay it on you. Lubricating their lips with a little bit of wine also helps. And just take inventory. So it's a mixed basket. It's a mixed basket. Overall, it's more of a blessing, because that means that you controlled the changes as they happened, and you control the changes to get back. And the greatest part of all of this, the changes to get back to who you were happen far faster than the changes that got you here. Because you're already like that. You changed away from it. Changing back to it is slightly more difficult than saying, man, I need to start doing that again. You know, you're not going to question of, how can I go back to being this way again? Time and just trying. You know, you know what it takes to get there. You have emotional boundaries and emotional hurdles in the way, but overall, you know where you're going. And once you know where you're going, the question of how to get there becomes a lot easier to answer. But it all starts with knowing, understanding, and accepting the fact that your happiness was not taken. You know, the old you was not taken. The old you was surrendered by you slowly over time. And as I said before, you've got you on tap. So just because you surrendered yourself, you got more self. Funny how that works, right? You got yourself on tap. So you're not going to run out of you anytime soon, right? You surrendered yourself and you gave up parts of yourself for this person to make this person happy. And so now it's a matter of, oh, guess I don't have to make these sacrifices anymore. And just stop sacrificing these parts of me that I used to not sacrifice, and regain it. And you know what? Bit by bit, it'll happen faster than you think. You'll start to notice that you get happier and happier, and you start to feel more in control of your destiny and less like you're being dragged behind the boat. Because honest to God, that's how life felt to me for so long. Like I was one of these skiers that, you know, skis and falls over and gets dragged by the rope and just skipping on the water while the boat continues to go. That's how I felt for a long time, man. Like I tripped and fell, I fucked up. Life doesn't slow down or stop, but I had never, you know, regained my balance or my footing or got back up on the skis. And the boat don't stop. That's how I felt for so long. And fortunately, going back to the way you were is much easier than getting back up on the skis with a boat that has not stopped. It's much, much easier than that. So that's all I got for this video. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.